And over to you, Morag.
Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to this session. I am just going to quickly share my screen so that we can get started. And I wish there was a way. There we go. So this is what we're here for today. Great big mugshot of me in the middle of the screen there. And we're going to be talking about coaching and mentoring. And the difference between them and the benefit. The focus is really going to be on the benefits. I think when I started off talking about the fact we're going to do this talk, I was a bit sort of hung up on we were going to do the differences between coaching and mentoring and be very much sort of almost textbook to make sure you knew exactly what the difference between coaching and mentoring was. But as I was preparing it, I realised that that's not a huge amount of benefits and use to you. What's probably most beneficial to you guys is really being clear as to what you can get from coaching and mentoring and how the two work together. So the objectives for this session today are exactly that. So the key differences between coaching and mentoring. I'm not going to be doing textbook stuff. And as well as differences, I also want to talk a bit about similarities and the synergies between the two, because they are really sort of skill sets rather than things that people do. And there's a really good overlap between the two. Then I'm going to talk a bit about which is best for what and when, and also about the benefits that a coach and or a mentor can have for you. Those two things are going to be kind of sort of rolled into one, but that's the two things that I hope you will get from that. Then I'm going to move on to, because by that point I'll have done such a good sales pitch for you as to why a coach and or a mentor is of such good value to you. You'll be asking me, how can I get myself a coach or a mentor? So I'm then going to cover a bit about places and ways you can actually get yourself set up to find a coach or mentor to benefit you. And also quite importantly is how to actually get the best out from a coaching or mentoring relationship, because just finding yourself a coach or a mentor doesn't actually just guarantee success and get the outcome that you want. There are things that you can do going into that relationship which will maximize your chance of success of a really good and beneficial relationship. So I am in a second just going to do a very quick intro to who I am. But what would be useful for me is to get I like to get a little bit of an understanding as to my audience. So if you could in the chat, and then of course I'm going to have to try and work out if I can see the chat, is if you could pop into the chat for me whether you've got any experience of coaching or mentoring. So if you have been coached or mentored, and don't worry about the definition here, just if you've regarded it as coaching or mentoring, use the words that you're familiar with. So if you've been coached or mentored, pop coached or mentored into the chat. And if you've been a coach or a mentor, provided that for anyone at any stage in your career, I'd love to know that too. So if you can put in, I am a coach or I am a mentor or have been a coach or a mentor, that would be great. I can't figure out how to see the chat whilst I am more chat. There we go, excellent. So yes, so that's good. I've got that in the slide. I can keep an eye on that. So whilst you're popping a few words in there for me, my name's Morag Shaw and I am a coach. So this whole thing about coaching and mentoring is quite interesting because I'm naturally biased towards coaching rather than mentoring. But as we'll go on to see, the two are very, very closely related, and there's huge benefits. And to be honest, although I'm I'm a qualified professional coach, I have over 20 years experience as a coach, first of all in sport, and then through my professional career within a workplace, coaching people that reported to me. I have also done quite a lot of mentoring in that time as well. And my shift to actually becoming a professional coach has really just been in the last few years, where I've turned a load of experience from the past into I actually went and got a qualification to and we're going to touch on that in one of the later slides. So that's a little bit that. Just go through. Right, so this is great. I've got loads of comments in the chat, lots of different experience between people. Having mentors, the people who've got experience of never had a coach or mentor, solutions lead, now facility, cool. Brilliant. So it looks like we've got quite a range of experience. So ranging from people that have had no contact with coaches, mentors in the past, to people that actually have provided coaching or mentoring themselves. So that's brilliant. Today's session is going to be primarily focused on people, the coachees or the mentees, rather than the coaches or the mentors. So it's about how you get the best from a coaching or mentoring relationship as a mentee or a coachee. Not the best of words for them, but I think you know what I mean. People, the person who is receiving the coaching or the mentoring. So now going to coaching versus mentoring. As I kind of inferred at the beginning, there's sometimes seen, or maybe it's only in my head, I sometimes see this as a bit of a battle between coaching and mentoring and which is best. But it's not really a sort of a true reflection of things. And there's a whole load of other words and terms and things that get included and mixed up in this whole mix. So between people who are teachers and trainers, consultants, and counsellors as well, all of these different terminology quite often get used interchangeably. And they all have their benefits in the right place. And often you can have somebody who can wear 2 or even more of those hats all at the same time. So what I like to think of is the relationship between coaching and mentoring is far more a synergistic one, much more sort of benefit. You know, they're not in opposition to each other. They are they work together, and there's so many similarities between the two. If you look online, you will see lots of different places where people try and give you a rundown of what is the difference between coaching and mentoring. A lot of them focus on things like the length of the relationship, the frequency of meetings and things like that. And I think a lot of those things are sort of fairly arbitrary and are really up to the individuals to decide. When I had a bit of a look through, this here was probably one of the best pre-written sort of examples of that really sort of pulled out the key things from the way I see it in terms of coaching and mentoring. So the area in the middle, you know, we have this big area of overlap that they're both very much focused on self-improvement of the person who's being coached or mentored. They are both have the goal of helping the individual to become their very best self, to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. And they do that, and both coaches and mentors do that by providing that safe, open setting where things can be shared freely and openly. To me, some of the sort of key differences is that, you know, coaches, in my world, coaches are professionally trained to do what they are. There are lots of mentors out there who also have training as well. In fact, many mentors also have coach training. And equally, there's, in today's world, there are actually quite a lot of coaches out there in the world who, unfortunately, in my opinion, are not actually trained. When we talk about where to find coaches and mentors in a little while, I'll touch on that, about the whole issue of professional certification and just sort of knowing the standards of people that you may want to work with. There's also, people will sort of talk sometimes about the formality between coaches and mentors, and it's interesting because depending on where you look, some people put it, it switches back and forward between which is formal and which is informal. Again, I feel that's very much about the individuals, a coach, a mentor and a mentee getting together, and if they choose to formalize that arrangement, that's something that they choose to do. Or if it's much more informal and ad hoc, again, it's all about a choice and setting the relationship up in the way that will benefit you most. In terms of mentors, the one thing that I feel makes if you're going to put a mentor in inverted commas, really separate and different to coaches, consultants, various other forms, it's very much thing about, advice is based on personal experiences. So to be a mentor to someone, you really have to have walked that path already. You have specific industry or experience in a particular area that your mentee, the person that you are working with, is looking to gain from you. And on that basis, a mentor will often take the approach of, here is what I did. This is how I did it. Which can be extremely valuable, but you also have to sort of listen, be aware that that's not always going to be the right answer. What's right for one person isn't always right for another person. So let me just see if this is going to click on to the next one. So here we get to the real meat of things. What is it you actually get from a coach or a mentor? So regardless of what you want, whether it is a coach or a mentor, whatever you want to call them, there are some key things that you can gain from a coaching relationship. And whenever you want to do something in life, if you want to do something new, or if you're wanting to improve or get better at what it is you're already doing, or change direction, there are 5 key components to make that happen. And that is around clarity, direction, focus, strategy, and support. With those 5 things in place, this is going to sound a little bit sort of pie in the sky, but I believe with those 5 things in the place, you can pretty much make anything happen and achieve anything you want to achieve. So we're just going to go through these one at a time and give you what they actually are, and I'll talk a little bit about coach versus mentor, around each of these points. So clarity, what is it that you want? If you're at the point that you actually are not entirely sure as to what it is you want to achieve, what it is you want, where you want to go. So let's take, for example, in terms of career, if you're at that point where you want to make a change, but you're not really sure what that change is, what path you want to follow, then getting clarity around that is really the first step. And if we're doing coach versus mentor, I would really argue that at that point, a coach is more beneficial than a mentor. What a coach can do at that point is help you get that clarity. And then once you're clear as to what it is you want to explore further, that can then lead to helping you find a mentor who is knowledgeable and experienced in that particular area. So that's a great example of where coaches and mentors have that sort of synergistic relationship. So, if you work with a coach, that you gain the clarity, which then you may then say for one of the other 4 points, that a mentor would then help you to get the knowledge and experience that you are looking for. And a lot of times that clarity can be about external clarity, and often it's about internal clarity. So clarity as to what's available out there in the world, but also clarity about, your own strengths, your values, what it is that, you want to get from your work, your career, your life in general. Direction. What way do I go? So if, for example, you've spent some time with a coach and have got very clear on, you know, what's important to you, what do you value most, what your strengths are, what you enjoy doing, you know, you've got all that information. The next thing is, well, where's that going to take me? You know, what direction should I go in to make best use of those things? Again, you can get benefit from both coach and mentor on this point. One of the key differences is, you know, a coach will very much be asking you questions and drawing out from you as to what the different options could be, whereas a mentor is more likely to be saying, how about this, how about that, giving you ideas and suggestions. Both are equally valuable. I really think for a lot of this, it comes down to how you prefer to work and what, you know, so some people like to be given a list of options that they can then think which one's right for me and go and work through it. Other people find it easier to create those options for themselves. Next, we have focus, another thing that both coaches and mentors can help you with. So what is the best route? You know, if you've decided now, I'm going to stick with this, the example of sort of career development. So conversations with coach and or a mentor, you have now decided what your you know, your direction is, if you like, your end goal. So say you've fixed your goal that you want to be a product manager. You know, that's where you want to head with your career. Then what is the best route to achieve that? A coach would work with you to pull out from you, you know, based on your own knowledge and experience as to what could be, you know, what would be the best route for yourself. A mentor can give you suggestions based on their experience of what they did, the path they followed, and you may find that some of those resonate with you, and you go, yeah, that sounds right for me, or it doesn't, or something that doesn't sound right for you. And it's always, you know, finding the thing that's not right for you is equally valuable to finding the thing that is right for you. Also around focus, there's how do I avoid distractions? So, you know, if you are looking to achieve an objective and, you know, you're limited for time, or, you know, you want to make it happen quickly, then a coach, or you know, a coach can help you look for, you know, how do you really get clear, and a lot of that is about tying it in with you know, your ultimate goals and values and what's important to you, because when it's an end objective fits with your internal values, you are, you know, you will go for that and put lots of effort in. Whereas if a goal just is more something that someone else has suggested to you would be a good thing to do, that's the situation where you'll find yourself getting distracted and not putting the time or effort into it. And it's not because there's anything wrong with you, or if, you know, there's no issue about, you know, it's nothing about laziness, lack of willpower or anything. What you will find in most of those situations, if you're not moving forward, there's a misalignment from the goal and your own internal values. About my bias will come out again here about coaching versus mentoring. That again, that's something that very is much in a sort of coach domain, but where mentors can have a real benefit on that is clear options as to, you know, what works, and experience about how these things might actually be and what they've experienced. Strategy. What map should I follow? So you now know where it is you want to go, how you want to get there, you even cite the best route. But having a map is a very useful thing, because that's going to show you where various pitfalls and obstacles and things to get past are, and equally where opportunities could arise. We're now getting into the territory where I would start to be pushing my preference towards mentors. Mentors can really come into their own around this area here, because they have walked that path, so they have followed their own map. They have come across many of these pitfalls and obstacles and opportunities, and having the opportunity to listen and hear and learn from those experiences can be very, very valuable. It's always worth remembering that those experiences very much relate to that individual, and they may not apply to you, but it's hearing them. If you listen to these stories and listen, anyone that's been to one of my talks before knows I very much like to emphasize insight over information. So if you're listening to a mentor talking about their experience, very much listen to it from that point of insight. What do you relate to? What excites you? What would you like to repeat? At the same time as what would you go, no, that doesn't sound like what I would like to do. And lastly, support. A coach and or a mentor, both having somebody in your corner, having your back. Human beings, we are social creatures. Although no matter how independent and self-motivated we feel we are, having somebody who's got your back, supports you, encourages you is a great thing to have. And the additional thing, especially with mentors, with good networks, the networking opportunity of that is extremely valuable. So, having someone in your corner who understands you, understands your skills and experience, and could potentially open doors for you at some point in the future, highly, highly valuable. And I very much, I would, put emphasis on mentors for that. So although this is not sort of exclusive, you've almost got in the sort of the top or left-hand side of this pattern is more coaching bias, and in the bottom or right-hand side of this pattern is more mentor bias. But coaches and mentors can work across the whole spectrum of that. Okay, I am doing a lot of talking here. Can I just see if I can find the chat again? Oh, I'll come out of there. I don't know if anyone got any questions just now. I've got a couple more slides to cover, but I just want to know if anyone has, if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. I will carry on with the next two slides just now. And then if you've got questions, I would love to hear them, because I do like to have a conversation rather than just me talking. So go back to this. So I'm hoping that you are now going, wow, the amazing things that I can benefit from either a coach or a mentor. I would love to get myself one. Where do you find a coach or a mentor? There's a number of different possibilities for this. So with coaches, I kind of mentioned at the beginning about sort of professional qualifications. There are a number of professional coaching bodies out there. One of the challenges and issues in the coaching industry is that it is unregulated. So there's no one place that you can go. There are certain ones like the IC International Coaching Federation and Association of Coaches that tend to be well regarded within industry. But I know lots of coaches who are not accredited with those bodies who are still excellent coaches. And likewise, I even know some coaches who do have accreditations with these bodies and are maybe not such good coaches. So you can never tell. I really think that one of the best ways to find yourself a coach is through recommendation, personal recommendation. If someone has worked with a coach in a problem, difficulty, goal type, that a goal that is similar to what you are facing, if they can recommend you to somebody, that gets you past all of that. Oh crikey, where do I start? But there are sort of databases and directories out there. What I would say is, if you ever do find somebody off a directory, make sure you have a good long conversation with them before you actually sort of commit. I'll get on to about getting the most from a coaching relationship. and having a rapport and a good relationship and actually liking the coach is really important. So yeah, make sure you have a good conversation with any individual before you decide if they're the right person for you. Recommendations, networks. To find coaches, that thing about recommendations, and particularly for mentors, your personal network is very, very important for this. When you start to build up a network of people within the industry that you're interested in, with the sort of experience that you have now or that you aspire to, that is a great source of mentors. And you'd be amazed at how many people out there are willing and actually very keen to help and support. And if you reach out, if you see someone that you think, wow, I would love to learn from them, and actually reach out to them with a personal message, showing that you actually know something about them, you've done a little bit of research, and can sort of relate and say, maybe somebody's worked on a project that you have followed and thought was really inspiring and you'd love to know more about it. If you can show that you've had that interest and reach out to them, you'd be amazed how many people would actually love to actually help and will be willing to have a conversation and potentially form a longer relationship. And then we're doing this within the Scottish Tech Army. Obviously, the Scottish Tech Army as a source of mentors. We have a mentorship programme. It's small at the moment. We're running it, it's getting bigger day by day. We have a couple of different actual programmes in place. So we have been working with Scottish Government, pairing mentors within the Scottish Government digital community. We now have the relationship and the programme with the Glasgow Caledonian University students, where we are providing mentors for the students on that course. So there's often structured forms of mentoring where there is a defined programme, in addition to the more informal mentoring where, if you just have something that you would like to get information, learn from somebody else's experience, where you can reach out to them on a one-to-one personal basis. Hold on now, I saw there's a chat, so I'm going to go and have a wee quick check if that will come up. Chat. Why won't the chat open for me? Oh, there it is there. So, benefit to questions here from Joanna. Is there a benefit to formalize? Perfect lead into the next slide. And which relationship is better for understanding yourself? Right, perfect. So my final slide, be pleased to hear. There's me. I always say I don't like doing lots of slides, and then I find myself doing lots of slides. Anyway, this slide isn't even worth having a slide for. So how do I get the most out of coaching or mentoring? In fact, I'm going to switch that off and I'm just going to talk to you. So around about this question of formalising and mentoring, the most important thing for either a coaching relationship or a mentoring relationship is around clear objectives and goals at the outset. Now, whether it's formal or informal in the sense of it having been arranged through a pre-arranged programme or all the rest of it, being clear on those goals and objectives, is really down to the individual. So if you are a mentee looking to get a mentor, you need to be clear what's the goals and objectives. I'll use the example of the programme with Glasgow Caledonian University at the moment. That, in a way, the goals and objectives for that are set by the nature of the programme and the course. But making sure that the individual, so in that case, the student and the mentor are both clear and understand what the overall goals and objectives for that mentoring is what will lead that relationship to be productive, effective, and run smoothly, and everyone, get a great result at the end. One of the ways we can do that when we're perhaps in a less formal environment. So say you were to reach out to a mentor, a potential mentor on a sort of one-to-one basis. So for example, you're looking to get into a new a new career path, and you reach out to somebody who's already doing the job that you're interested in and ask them if you can, form a mentoring relationship. Then getting in place a mentoring agreement is, I would say, essential. And I very much see agreement on this, because it's not a contract, it's not any very formal document. It's simply getting written down, preferably written down, you could do it verbally, on a piece of paper, between both individuals, what's involved. So you would say, this is what it is that I want to get from this. What do I want to learn? The time scales. How long is this relationship going to go on for? Is it just a couple of meetings, or are we looking for it to be longer? How frequently do you want to meet? Where and how are we going to meet? What information is okay to share and what information is not okay to share? Because you need to have that trust, and particularly if you're talking to a mentor that's working in a company that you don't work for, you may have confidentiality issues that need to be agreed up front, so nobody's feeling awkward about what they can and can't discuss and disclose. And that all kind of leads to something that's really important in either a coaching or a mentoring relationship, and that's around trust and whether you actually like and get on with the coach or mentor. I mentioned before that, if you do ever find a coach from a directory and, that you have no other had contact with the person before, it's vitally important to have a conversation with them before you sign up to anything. We all have our little quirks and foibles, and we get on with some people and we don't get on quite so well with other people. So have that chat, make sure you click, and that, if you have a good relationship from the offset with someone, it's far more likely to be a productive ongoing relationship. And finally, be open and honest, particularly with yourself during one of these relationships. You don't have to share your deepest, darkest secrets with any coach or mentor, but you need to be open and honest with yourself, because that's where you get the benefit from any of these things. So I think that's it. So I think, so the formalising, I think there should always be a degree of formalising, but it's not a sort of tied up with a watertight legal contract or anything like that. It's just about having an agreement in place. And relationship for understanding yourself better. Personally, that's very much a coach's domain, because coaches are about curiosity and probing and bringing stuff out from the individual, whereas mentors predominantly are about giving you their knowledge and experience. But as I said right at the beginning, the two there's a huge area of overlap, and they are, it's a synergistic relationship. So there's many mentors out there who have excellent coaching skills, and there's also coaches out there who can also provide mentoring in specific areas. So that is me. I have done a lot of talking. Does anyone else have any other questions? What else would you like to know? How do you prepare yourself to be a mentor? There's a great question. So I believe that anybody can be a mentor at any stage of their career. There is one of the things I didn't cover, some people have a perception that a mentor is always a very senior, very experienced person that's been, around the block and has, years and years of experience. But ultimately, a mentor is always somebody that is just at least 1 or 2 steps further along the path that you want to travel. So whatever experience you have, that will be beneficial to somebody. In terms of preparing yourself to be a mentor, some of the skills that coaches are learning are beneficial to mentors. Ability to to listen, to ask good questions, are all very useful. They're skills that a lot of people can't have, but can also be developed. I hope that answers that. I know I'm conscious of time as well, so any questions, if people want to follow up further, feel free to contact me afterwards. I'm happy to answer any more and have a deep, a longer conversation about specific things afterwards.
Yeah, There's a really nice point from Jennifer there around the can anyone do it, basically. I think the idea often is that the mentorship is a one-way process as well, and it's completely not. It's equally a really good way of preparing yourself for management and how people react to you and how you react to people in different situations. You know, I would, you know, definitely I had a whole series of mentors and they changed as I progressed through my role. If you look at a lot of the big firms, once you've done a graduate training scheme, they use all of those graduates to mentor the next lot. So it kind of forces you into your own little retrospective. So it makes you look at yourself, what you learned, what you struggled with at each of those stages. So it can be a really good way of personal development in that sense as well. So absolutely, Jennifer. You know, these things aren't Disney. It's not black or white, right or wrong. It's very much, you know, all the spectrum of people. But Morag, that was brilliant. Really, really appreciate you taking us all through that. Does anyone else have questions? I don't, you know.
Yeah. I do absolutely agree with that point you were making as well, Joanna, there about it being a two-way thing, particularly mentoring. That people that I've spoken to, I mean, we've got Robin's on the call here. Robin's had experience. I know he's done a lot of excellent, you know, done some mentoring within the STA, and speaking from here, but I'm sure from the feedback I've had from Robin before that he has gained a lot from mentoring people, as well as the mentee gaining from his knowledge and experience. So yeah, very much a two-way process.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think if you're doing it for the right reasons, you get out of it. But if you're just trying to do it to tick a box, then it doesn't necessarily always work. But I think, touching on your point, Morag, I think it doesn't have to be a formal relationship, or certainly from a mentor point of view. I think if you've got a good boss at work or something, that's a mentor relationship as well. If you're getting on with them, if you enjoy, or somebody within your team or your environment that you're helping solve a problem or something, that can be deemed a mentor as well. So it's all on different levels, and I think certainly I've done a couple of stuff with the STA of a couple of people who are changing jobs or changing careers, so that's been quite interesting because I've gone through that myself. And certainly now with one of the guys I'm chatting to at the Scottish Government, to be honest, it's just a chat. Being really simple, it's a chat and just on a Friday afternoon, and just having a chat over a virtual beer about how things are going. So it can be as formal or informal as you want it to be. I think, and as Joanna said, you get an awful lot out of it yourself. Again, if their personal relationship is there, if you like them, then it becomes much easier. If you don't quite if you don't have a connection, it becomes very hard, I think.
Yeah.
For both parties, should I say.
I agree, and I think what you find is that, you know, when it doesn't quite click, you know, there's still some value in that, but the mentoring relationships that can end up going sort of becoming a more long-term things are very much where, you know, you get two people that sort of just get on. And, you know, I've known people that have started out with what was a mentoring relationship to start with, and they've become, you know, sort of lifelong friends off the back of it. So, you know, it can go and also, yeah.
I think one thing is, like, I've done quite a lot with Scottish Enterprise mentoring from a business point of view, and that's quite tricky, I think, when you don't have somebody's coming from a different industry, and that's really where if you don't have that personal connection, then trying to explain your industry and what's happening with the challenges, and they don't quite understand it, becomes, because you spend half the time talking about the problem rather than actually, and a good mentor will sort of get cut through the industry chat and get to what the problem is, but actually a bad one will just come and talk about, well, this is what I've done in my career. Yeah. And actually that's not what you're looking for. So I think it's very much trying to establish the relationship, and I think a lot of time it's just one or two meetings and you'll get a good feel. And if it's not right, I think it's also important to say, if it's not right, don't carry on with them.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys on the call, just so you're aware, this is very much something that we're building out at the minute, and the full intention is to work with a number of partners, as well as sort of plugging into some corporate partners to have this as a more solid offering. We've all the way through the STA have had people informally asking for advice and help. There's no intention to disrupt that, and that will continue. But equally, we have had a few people kind of saying, I'd like to have a go at mentoring. And there's a few people kind of saying, I'm looking for a mentor and not knowing where to look. And equally, Amanda on the call, we're working with from a GCU angle. So, if you're, hopefully, if you're thinking about becoming a mentor, we've persuaded you. And if you're a mentee, hopefully that helps kind of, because you do hear the terms coaching and mentoring thrown around quite a lot, so it's good. And obviously it's great for you guys to meet Morag, who's our superstar when it comes to all of this stuff. And, if you have any questions afterwards, please just ask, basically.
I wonder that, I mean, I did very much focus today on from the mentee coachee perspective, just time and all the rest of it, and kind of understanding where the majority of the audience was going to be. If anyone does have any interest, people that are looking to become mentors and have an interest, would like another session that's more focused on being a mentor or being a coach, please let us know. I'll be happy to put something together on that.
Brilliant. So thank you, Morag. So next week, guys, you're more than welcome to join us at the same time, same place. We have Andrew Rendell, who is an absolute legend. When the STA has done he's almost done a little bit of everything. And Andrew's worked in the private sector, public sector, currently on contract at M&G. So a wealth of experience, and really the sort of the key area we've asked him to sort of talk about is that, when you're hiring, joining teams, prepping for interviews with that kind of focus on those sectors. So if you do have any questions, if you're prepping for interviews, if you're just about to start a role in a firm, feel free to come along. It's a lot more of a fireside chat, and the idea is just to help you guys find out who's done various things and give you the opportunity to talk to them. So we look forward to seeing you all next week, hopefully. Brilliant. I am going to stop